Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call to order the regular meeting of the City of Murfreesboro Board of Zoning Appeals for April 27th, 2022. First item on our agenda is a determination of a quorum with all 5 members of the board present. We do have a quorum today. The next item is a consideration of our minutes from our meeting on March 23rd, 2022. Those minutes were provided to the board. Are there any changes necessary to those minutes? Hearing none, those minutes will stand as approved. Next will be new business, special use permit requests. We have 2 today. The first one is application Z22006 by Absolute Fireworks, represented by Julie Smith. They're requesting a special use permit in order to operate a temporary outdoor vending establishment, in this case a seasonal fireworks retailer, in the parking lot of an existing commercial shopping center. This is Zone Commercial Highway, and the property is located at 131 Cason Lane. Mr. Aguilera, if you'd review that for us.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Young. And members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Today's first item on our agenda is for a request for a special use permit by Ms. Julie Smith with Absolute Fireworks to operate a fireworks tent, again, at 131 Cason Lane for the 4th of July selling season, June 28th to July 5th, 2022. This site is zoned, again, commercial highway, which is permitted with a special use permit. And the site is surrounded by the existing commercial development and other commercial businesses, as you can see here on the plan. So the applicant, just to give you a little background, the applicant has been doing this for 16 years. I'm going to scroll real quick to the site plan as well so we can just get our bearings of the area and the elements. The applicant has been doing this for 16 years. And usually this would be kind of handled through our administrative review process with special use permits. If none of the details had been changed, the elements had been remaining consistent with the previous applications, such as the tent, the location, anything with those previous submissions, it would be going through our administrative process. But the applicant was unable to get the tent size that they usually get, and so and will be increasing in size. So because of this change, this special use permit was not allowed to go through our administratively reviewed process and get an administrative approval. So today's special use permit is, of course, to allow for a fireworks seasonal retail at 131 Cason Lane, but to also allow for the increase in the tent size from a 30-foot by 45-foot tent to a 30-foot by 60-foot tent. The hours of operation will be the same. It will be consistent with other firework seasonal retailers from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the applicant, per our standards and procedure for special use permits, they have provided a letter and site plan demonstrating compliance with the special use permit application. And they have also received the letter and signature from the property owner granting them permission to use this site. So for our standards for general applicability, staff has reviewed it. The location of the fireworks sales tent is situated in the parking lot. I know this is kind of oriented in a weird way, but it is situated kind of on the southern portion of the site, and so it will not be impacting the main access to the commercial center. And again, the parking lot, as you can see, consists of paved asphalt, not gravel. And reviewing the parking spaces for this, staff wanted to confirm that it wouldn't really be impacting the businesses and services of the center. But in reviewing the parking spaces and the number of parking spaces, it will not be exceeding that 25% of parking spaces. The applicant has confirmed as well that based on the location of the tent, it will not be impacting the operations of the business center as well. And reviewing the standards for temporary vendors, staff has reviewed the letter and, again, the site plan that it, again, will not be hindering the business operations. The site has an estimated 42 spaces, and the applicant has confirmed that will be using around 8 spaces. So, again, it is not going to be exceeding that 25% total parking availability. But the applicant is also aware, too, that if the BZA should impose any additional traffic control measures, they will abide by those as well. The applicant has confirmed that the tent will be placed on site and will be in compliance with all applicable codes. The tent will not be installed into any easements on site and will abide by the setbacks for the CH district. There will be a portable toilet on site, and there will also be a temporary power pole. These have been verified that they will also be outside of any easements or outside of any setbacks for the CH district. The trash that is on site that will be generated from the tent will be carried off daily. The applicant has confirmed that, and that the site will be used in total for 8 days. The applicant has confirmed that the fireworks sales tent will be operating again from June 28th until July 5th, and the hours of operation again will be from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. For the additional standards for fireworks, specifically for fireworks, staff has reviewed those standards as well, and the site is located 360 feet from the nearest fuel source and is not located within 250 feet of any licensed establishment that offers on-site consumption of alcoholic beverages. The applicant is aware for the fireworks sales period, and again is only seeking to operate from June 28th until July 5th, and the proposed hours again are 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. The applicant is aware of the other requirements applicable codes for tents and for fireworks vendor, such as obtaining a tent permit, ensuring that the tent is flame resistant, and that having a fire extinguisher on site, and again has stated that they will comply with these applicable codes, both for our zoning ordinance and the municipal code standards. Staff recommends that this special use permit to operate a temporary outdoor vending establishment, fireworks seasonal retailer at 131 Cason Lane should be subject to staff comments and be given conditions of approval after meeting the stated standards above. And there's quite a few standards, so bear with me, but again, staff recommends approval subject to all staff comments and conditions of approval per section 9, subsection B. The following conditions include: 1, that the special use permit approval is for a special use permit to operate a temporary outdoor fireworks sales tent from June 28th through July 5th, 2022, between the hours of 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. Sales period for fireworks is June 28th through July 5th, and activity associated with fireworks seasonal retail shall not be located on the property prior to June 22nd, 2022, and all materials, including the tent and any other equipment, shall be removed from the lot or on or before July 10th, 2022. 3, that the applicant shall provide certification that the tent is flame resistant or treated to be flame resistant. Then 4, that the maximum tent size shall be 30 by 60 and shall be located in the parking lot as shown on the aerial photo that's been provided today. 5, that the applicant shall keep and maintain a fireworks extinguisher on site at all times. 6, that the applicant shall keep the fireworks ordinance posted on all site on all times and comply with the regulations contained here then. 7, that the fireworks shall not be set off-site, on-site, and that 8, that the applicant shall apply for and pass an electrical safety inspection prior to opening for business. An electrical permit shall be purchased from the Building and Codes Department in order to obtain this inspection. 9, that the firework tent shall meet all minimum building setback requirements for the CH zoning, and these setbacks are again 42-foot front, 0-foot side, and 20-foot rear setback. Condition 10, that the applicant shall obtain a tent permit for the fireworks tent, and that 11, that applicant shall post a certificate to operate issued by the planning department after passing all required inspections to operate a temporary firework vending operation. I am here for any questions, and Ms. Julie Smith is also here in the audience if you guys have any questions for her as well. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Any questions for staff at this point?
Well, the only reason why it's before us today is because of the size of the tent, correct? Otherwise, they would have to comply with all those 11 standards that are in the ordinance, right?
You are correct. It's due to the increase of the tent size.
And it was at the same location.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Ms. Smith, anything you'd like to add to the application?
I would just like to say thanks and hi. I haven't been here in a while. Just adding a few feet to my tent size.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith, could you give us your address for purposes of the minutes?
Home?
That's fine.
9155 Paw Paw Springs Road, Arrington, Tennessee.
Thank you. All right, this time we'll hold the public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application? If so, come to the podium and you can give us name and address and provide us any comments you may have. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and open the floor for any further discussion or a motion.
I'll move to approve, subject to the conditions for approval set out by staff.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Or none? That application has been approved. Next, we'll move to application Z22008 by New Vision Baptist Church, represented by Caitlin Paul of Catalyst Design Group. They're requesting a special use permit for a 25,680 square foot building addition to an institutional group assembly use in a single-family residential RS-15 zone. This is for property located at 1750 North Thompson Lane. Mr. Aguilar, if you'd review this one for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Young. Today's second item is a request for a special use permit by the New Vision Baptist Church, represented by Catalyst Design Group. Caitlin could not be here today, but we do have a representative from Catalyst Design if you all have any questions near the end of the presentation. So they have a request to construct a 25,680 square foot building addition for 43 adult classrooms and to make modifications to the west parking lot. And I have pulled up on screen just to show you the addition of where it will be and kind of the orientation of the parking lot and of the building, which we will discuss further. The property is located at 1750 North Thompson Lane, and the surrounding uses of the site, around the site, are medical and office to the east and mostly vacant land to the west of the site. That is, of course, near the battlefield and the lands owned by the battlefield. If the BZA is to approve this request, the addition and the parking lot modifications will be required to go through the approval of the Planning Department's site plan review process and be subject to our municipal code and design guidelines. Just to provide a little background as well with this one, for this special use permit request, on December 18th of 2014, New Vision requested a special use permit to allow for an expansion of the church, and they did get an approved special use permit request and additional 2 variances. One variance approved an 8-foot landscape variance from section 27J, which requires a 10-foot wide side planting yard where the site is 5 acres or more. The second variance approved an exemption from section 992D that requires parking spaces for institutional group assembly use in a single-family residential R zoning district to be located outside of the front yard setback. The reason I'm mentioning this for the record, but to also inform you that for this addition that we are hearing today that you all will be considering is outside of these areas. It will be contained mostly within the site, and it will not be really changing the existing layout of the parking lot or impacting the areas that were specified previously in those variances in 2014. So again, the work will be contained mostly with this and then in the addition and within the parking lot, not impacting those areas of the variance. Per our standards and procedure for the special use permits, we have asked that the applicant submit this site plan and a letter demonstrating, compliance with our general standards of applicability and institutional group assembly. Just to give a quick overview, we can look at it here just a little bit for the parking. As I said, there is going to be modifications to the parking lot. You can see here on screen that with the parking lot, the applicant will be removing 112 parking spaces for this addition and be adding back 76 spaces. While there is a net reduction of 36 spaces, the total number of spaces on the site will still be 1,342 parking spaces, which exceeds the minimum number of parking spaces required by the zoning ordinance per chart 4 for churches. They are currently required to have 200 parking spaces, so as you can see, they do exceed that minimum. In reviewing the standards for general applicability, the proposed addition should have minimal impact on the surrounding area. Now again, let me zoom out just so everybody is familiar with this layout. Should have minimal impact to the surrounding area. Lighting will not extend beyond the property line. They have shown that through their photometric plan, which I am showing right now. And it will not, as well as the lighting in the parking lot will not be extended beyond the property line. The parking shall be managed on site so that there are no negative impact to the adjacent public right-of-ways or neighboring properties. Proposed addition and parking will be served adequately by essential public facilities. There are no proposed street connections or improvements for public facilities. Oops, let me go down. And have shown that, again, that they are going to be complying with the minimum parking standards that we have per Chart 4 of the zoning ordinance. In the agenda packet, they have provided a brief summary of the parking during the service time, and it shows that, again, that they will be having adequate parking on site. For the additional standards for institutional group assembly, staff has reviewed the application, and with the application, the applicant has confirmed that the parking will be managed on site, and the addition and the modifications have been arranged so that there shall be no impact to the right-of-way, and the photometric plan shows that, again, the lighting will not exceed beyond the property line. All lighting fixtures have been restricted to the 20-foot mounting height and will not impact the neighboring properties. The solid waste will be handled via an existing dumpster on site, and there is no mention of this in the application to move or improve with that. And there additionally are no requests to improve or add new recreational areas with this application. Also included for this in our standards, we've asked them just to, again, to provide a brief description for the site and what they're proposing. And again, that this is for a 25,680 square foot expansion on to allow for, again, the adult classrooms and then proposed modifications to the parking lot. The applicant has stated that they don't anticipate any change in the traffic patterns on site. They anticipate, of course, there being a change in the traffic volume, but again, that will be handled on site and managed with the church. And again, that they confirmed that there's not going to be any kind of no change with the parking spaces, that they will be requiring more as they exceed our minimum standards. And reviewing the application, staff recommends approval for the special use permit application to add the 25,680 square foot addition onto the existing church and the removal of the 36 spaces from the on-site parking area, because the special use permit standards and the institutional group assembly standards will be met as discussed previously. Although, again, there is a net reduction in the parking spaces, they still exceed that number and have plenty of parking around site. Staff recommends that if approved, the special use permit be conditionally approved in accordance with Section 9, subsection B, the condition on special uses with the following conditions. The special use permit is for an approximately 25,680 square foot addition on the existing church and for modifications to the parking lot areas in front of the new addition. And the condition 2, that the site plan must be submitted for review and approval subject to municipal code and the Murfreesboro design guidelines. And the condition 3, that this special use permit approval shall include by reference all previous conditions of approval for the operation of an assembly church use on the subject property and previously permitted exemptions from the zoning ordinance with the variances granted by the BZA on December 18th, 2014. I'm here for any questions, and I will also leave this up on screen so you all can see that. But I'm here for any questions, and John from Catalyst Design Group is here as well if you all have any questions for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I got one. So this is an RS-15, but all the other neighboring uses are pretty much either institutional, commercial.
Yeah, you're correct. There's a mix of it. There's some office and medical spaces around it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is, again, near North Thompson. So that area is a mix of commercial, office, and medical uses.
Why has there hadn't been an application maybe to rezone this?
I have not been a part of any conversations with
Would
that.
that make this, I guess, an easier process, or?
Well, I don't have the full history. My assumption is that the property was zoned RS-15, as is lots of other property that was in that general area.
Mm-hmm.
As the neighboring uses and properties developed with medical uses and buildings, that has to be rezoned, whereas an institutional use like a church is allowed in the RS zoning districts with approval of a special use permit. So this is actually a much easier process than going through a rezoning, and a rezoning would not be necessary.
Okay. Just curious.
You're easier than the planning commission.
I wasn't going to say that.
Thank you for that. Any other questions for staff?
I just wanted to make sure, I guess it probably doesn't really matter, but the fact that we're adding on classrooms and taking away parking, usually you would need, and I know you reiterated it several times, there's no need for more parking, but typically when we're adding on a new use, it would increase the required parking sizes? Is it because there's a sanctuary or an auditorium, and because the great a number of spaces needed for that is the reason we won't need more spaces in this situation?
Because this is a church use, they're required to go by the church use. I think if this was a more educational institution,
School or-
a school
okay.
like what we did with MTCS, that one, of course, required to go by the classroom size. So that's why we looked at kindergarten, all those K through 12 kind of grades, because they would have had to meet the parking standards for each classroom. For this case, since this use is a church, they would be required to go by the church use and their parking standards, which I believe is 1 for every 8 spaces in the largest part of the auditorium, and so which comes up with the 200.
Okay. That's what I assumed. I just wanted to make sure I was right.
Of course.
Board members, the applicant is here. He can explain in further detail how it's an offset, if that helps.
I'm happy to hear from whoever wants to talk.
Do you have anything to add?
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Jack Parker with Catalyst Design Group, 1524 Williams Drive, Suite 201. I don't really have anything to add other than there's more than sufficient parking campus-wide, and it is based on the sanctuary and not these additional classrooms that drives the required parking count. So you can be sure that as a church they want to have plenty of parking. So it's not they don't try to stay close to the requirement. They have ample parking. So I'm glad to answer any other questions and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. I had a question, might be for staff as well. I know they'll have some local policemen that will help with traffic on Sunday. I was curious whether they're volunteering that, or is that part of a requirement, or how I assume that's going to continue in their plans. We're just kind of curious where that's coming from.
That was not mentioned by Caitlin. I know they of course have their own events and everything, but Caitlin has not mentioned that when working with her on this application. Ms. Paul did state that, we got the parking calculations and made sure that, circulation and everything, traffic volume was going to be handled. And I'm showing on screen, I kind of wanted to go back to the original master plan, if everybody can see it. They did just add this huge parking addition right here recently. And so I think with their circulation that they're just wanting to make sure, I'm not sure with the police and all that, but I think they're just wanting to make sure that wherever services here is going to be handled adequately. But they have this new addition here right now that kind of serves that. So that wasn't brought up in our discussion mainly because, and as Jack has discussed, there is sufficient parking on this site.
Yeah, I'd seen the parking, just wanted the traffic flow when it's a busy time. It's a lot of cars coming and going. And it is helpful. I just didn't know whether that stemmed just they're offering that or if that was required. It's not really
do
pertinent to
offer
this
it.
application.
They do have policemen stationed at both of the main entrances
Right.
off of Thompson Lane, at least on all the services every Sunday morning.
Right.
And I expect that they're going to continue to do that.
Okay.
Chair Young, I also wanted to bring to your attention, one of the recommended conditions of approval is to incorporate by reference all the original conditions that were required and imposed on the special use permit. So if that was one of the original conditions, it would be incorporated. My belief or history of this property is that they're doing it voluntarily.
Okay.
But if it is required, it will be
Okay.
required again.
Just curious more than hinging anything on that. All right, any further questions for staff or the applicant? All right, at this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application? If you'd come forward. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and open the floor for any further discussion or a motion.
I'll move to approve, subject to staff comments.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none, so that application's been approved as well. Next item, staff reports and other business.
Staff does not have any additional business or reports.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll adjourn. Appreciate everybody's help.
Thank you very much.